Tubi has a brand new comedy series. It's called The Z Suite. I thought it was kind of funny, especially the first couple of episodes. Today I've got Nico Santos. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Tell me first about the series. Let's talk about that first.
Well, the Z Suite is a workplace comedy about two creative executives who are sort of the dynamic duo of the advertising world, played by Lauren Graham and myself. And we create this ad campaign that gets us canceled. And so we get replaced by the Gen Z employees at the firm. And, it's about us trying to get our jobs back, starting our own firm, and sort of hilarity ensues with all the situations that happen.
It is hilarious. Tell us about Doug.
Yeah, yeah, he's special. I guess he's a very interesting, unhinged character, even more so unhinged than a lot of the other characters I've played. But I love him so much. He's just like this kooky, quirky guy whose heart really is in the right place, and has a really, really gentle soul and gentle heart. But he's very loyal to Monica and will do whatever to support her. I mean, Monica is his ride and die, so he's very loyal.
I thought was interesting about the series is old school to me is like 50, 60. But here it is. You're talking your generation and Gen Z and trying to do this great ad for Super Bowl. Talk about that a little bit because I thought that was interesting.
Listen, I'm 45, so I'm pushing. I'm getting close there. So, yeah, it's really interesting because I was just talking about how when I was in my 20s, I remember having the same conversations with my uncles and my parents and my grandparents, and then they would always say like, well, when I was your age, blah 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 blah, and now I'm at that age when I'm telling these kids, I'm like, oh, when I was your age, internet wasn't a thing, and now you guys can just look up whatever you want. We had to use encyclopedias and the library. uh so it's like, oh my god, I've become that person.
You got one of the best lines I thought when you're talking about that is when Monica goes, bring in the clowns. So
I mean,
that was really
if
cool.
the clown shoe fits.
Definitely, definitely. So, what do you want people to take away from the series? I had a good laugh with it, with all the different characters in it. I had a great laugh because it was like a spectrum of characters.
Yes, yeah. Well, that's what I love about the series is like, we do sort of like have a great representation of people from different backgrounds and the different generations. I think we do a great job of sort of showing that in the end, really, we have more things in common than what our differences are. And it's really interesting to see that sort of generational conflict play out and sort of evolve into this thing of like, oh, we're actually a lot more similar than we thought.
Definitely. So, explain to me real quick, because you said this is a lot different than other characters you played and other things you've been in. Talk about that.
Well, I love absurdist humor, sort of you just detached from reality kind of humor. I just love it. Silly is my default. And while I've played sort of like silly characters before, mostly comedic characters, obviously, they've all pretty been grounded in their dialogue, in their world. And while the Z Suite is set in a real world of the advertising world, my character's quirks and his lines are just out there, and I love being able to play just the outlandish aspect of it.
You know what's interesting? I hope the audience sees what I see, and we talked about that a little bit, which is the spectrum of individuals, because it is a great representation of what's going on right now.
It absolutely is. And what I also love is that we also have the different generations of queer representation on the show, which is hardly ever explored, because there is a great difference of Gen Z now and how the LGBT community operates and sort of carries themselves, and queer people my age is very, very different. So it's nice to sort of like tackle that on television.
It's very interesting. I've been talking to Nick Santos. We're talking about the brand new Tubi series. the Z Suite. I do recommend that everybody get a chance to see this because it's a great representation of our society today. And I thought it was a lot of fun, especially when you brought the clowns in. Nick, thank you so much for joining us on Morning Blend.
Thank you for having me.